Alrighty, the moon is still in Cancer and it is starting to oppose Pluto and Venus. It's starting to. We're more likely going to feel it overnight, and that always brings some stuff with it. So the solstice is going to kind of start with a bang because it's 2021. So, but you can have an amazing amount of agency over how you deal with circumstances. And I talked about that on the latest podcast. I did another podcast. This one is much more upbeat than the last one. Not that every podcast has to be upbeat, but it's a lot nicer when it is. For me, it's a lot nicer when it is. I know you appreciate the realism, but I like being in a better mood. So as this moon moves into opposition with Pluto, this is a time always to release. It's also a time to get inventive right now. The Saturn Uranus square is forming over this week, and it will be exact on the 24th. I've been talking about it all year. When I've talked about we were going down and going fast, and then we hit the wall. And the wall is going to happen on Friday. This is going to be collective stuff. On an individual level, it's a massive amount of creative energy. Squares can be hugely creative. McDubs, how you doing? It can be a huge amount of creative energy. So, but you gotta be looking in another direction. So, I am looking festive. I've got multiple hats that I can look festive in. I have one with elf ears. I'm holding onto that one. That's special. So, but you gotta have the Santa hat. I actually enjoy festivities. I do. I did not as a child, just because family gatherings were stressful. But once I had my own kids, your phone is about to die. What? Go get your charger. But you can't get up to get a charger because you have sleeping kittens on your lap. Oh my gosh, I know the affliction of sleeping kittens. I do. I've had kittens. And puppies. Same thing. It's hard to get up when they're on your lap. I get it. I used to be really good at carrying sleeping things to go get things. That was a skill and a talent I once possessed. Don't possess that anymore. But I was quite good at actually carrying my sleeping children. But yeah, so solstice has an interesting chart. I'll pull it up here so you guys can see it. On a mundane level, on a world level, it's going to kind of pack a punch. On an individual level, it's time to get creative. It's time to MacGyver this. I've kind of told you guys all year long, you need to MacGyver. Also, my nails, got them done today. Check that out. Can you see those? I have a snowman. I have Snowflake. Can you see that? She did a nice job. Super cute. Hi. How you doing, Wanderlust? Do you have Sagittarius in your chart? Yeah? Because I feel you. I get excited regardless of the astrology chart for the solstice. To me, it just means there's more light coming. It's the darkest day of the year. From here on out, in the northern hemisphere, we get more light. So, yes, bring it on, because then I can adventure in the spring, which I look forward to. We'll see what kind of adventures those are. But yeah, for once you're not anxious for the turbulence. I'm glad to hear that. Right? Aren't they pretty? I think they're pretty. But yeah, that's good. Because again, when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm not trying to scare you. In fact, in this latest podcast, I give all kinds of hope and inspiration to help you play with it. So advice for someone with Jupiter sitting on their midhaven, take advantage of it. Jupiter on your midhaven is a good thing. There's lots of options. Feel into the one that feels best and go with that. That's a good thing. Enjoy it. Doesn't happen very often. It happens once every 12 years. So Yeah. Good evening from North Carolina. That's right. I love your what WTF is a budget. That's a great name, right? Today was heavy for you? Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Yeah. You didn't want to do anything today? Yeah, that's all right. I talked a little bit about that in the forecast. We don't have to always be productive. We don't. Our value is not measured by our productivity. That is an industrial model idea. That is not even capitalism, okay? I know everybody likes to call everything capitalism, but that's actually industrial model thinking, okay? So your value isn't based on your productivity. Malcolm, what is up, dude? I know, I have cookies, but they're not for you. So you had an interview today. Congratulations. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Jupiter is a lot of energy, but it's a good thing. So, you know, and you can Google all kinds of answers on that. So I'll be teaching more on transits next year. You want up? Are you cold? Up. Okay, hi. Ow, oh, we're stuck in my hair now. Dude, what's going on? What's up? You are happily ensconced on the couch in your blanket. What's going on? What do you want? Just lay down. Okay, this is Malcolm for all of you who are new here. He's my cohort, my familiar, my friend. So we'll give him some scritches with the new nails. So I gotta put my glasses on, buddy. But yeah, I will be eating cookies in front of you. So yeah, it gives you a chance to revise. You know, there's been so much bogus information about Venus retrograde. I have a video up that tells everybody what they can do with it, but Venus retrograde is not your biggest issue. Venus conjunct Pluto is probably what's making you tired because you're needing to let go of things you're holding on to with both fists. It's time to transform some stuff, and you're going to have to let go of some things and revise your ideas of security. That's for everybody. Isn't he? He is just loves. He is loves, and he's wanting. This is what he's after. Cookies. I baked cookies last night. My new nails, right? Check these out. We got snowmans. Actually, I think she said it was a snow lady. So, yeah. Yeah, he needs some FaceTime. He's had plenty. He got to go out multiple times today with me. Today, Mondays I don't do readings, so it's Malcolm Day. So, hey, how you doing? I am festive. There is no reason, even though the energy is going to be a little heavy this week. I'm not going to lie. I've been warning you guys all freaking year long. And it really isn't Venus retrograde that's doing it. Venus retrograde is making us have to look at traditions, traditional values. And because it's conjunct Pluto, we're having to revise those. We're having to create new traditions. And instead of looking, you know, so many people have been trained, it's going to be that person that makes them feel secure. That job is going to make them feel secure. Those people in their lives, the situation, the house, the car, whatever. That doesn't make you feel secure. You make you feel secure. You make you feel secure. Yeah. And if you don't feel secure on the inside, you have to rework that. Being overly attached to what you do versus who you are. Being overly attached to what you have versus who you are. Being overly attached to how people think of you versus how you think of yourself. This is what Venus in Capricorn is wanting us to address. Okay, so retrograde, we get a chance to take a look at all of those things. So yes, you make you feel secure. Because guess what? Life is never safe. Life is never secure. We've created a false sense of security in modern civilization. We kind of over sanitize things, okay? And gave ourselves, that's why people get so wrecked when something happens, because they're like, oh no. And if you go to places that have less sanitized lives, they'll be like, well, yeah, shit happens. Because they deal with shit on a daily basis. Okay, so in a lot of the developed nations, there's this over-sterilization that's called civilization. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it also creates a certain mindset. This is recorded. They're always recorded, but there's been glitches. So I'm sorry, Magic. Sometimes there's glitches on TikTok's end, and I can't download them and get them up on YouTube. So yeah. Otherwise, I would totally get it up on YouTube. So we'll see if it saves. But that's not in my control. That's totally up to YouTube. That's nothing I can do. They're all recorded. But whether I can get them out and up. Hi. Is this the week a time of miscommunication, misunderstandings with family? It depends on the person. It depends on the chart. You know, it really, really depends on who you are. We're going into the Saturn Uranus square. So you want to look back to February and June. The last 2 times they were square. This one's going to be a little different. Each one had their own flavor, but it will be an interesting and stressful week. This is a time of having to make new traditions. So for you, it could be communication issues. I don't know. I don't know your chart. And I'm not going to talk about your chart on a live stream. I don't do that. I do private readings, and you can click the link in my bio. Can you rewatch the lives? If I can get it to download, if TikTok hasn't glitched, I'll get it up on YouTube. So I have old ones up on YouTube. Good evening. So I'll try to get this up on YouTube and then put it into the Discord. But yeah, I can't. We'll see. It depends on what TikTok's doing, because TikTok was glitching on my lives for a long time. Yeah. And the second time you did, you quit your job during that. So yeah, it just depends on what's going on in your personal chart, what houses these things are hitting. And so one of the things, I've talked about it on my podcast a lot. I've written about it in Patreon. I've talked about this time period in live stream after live stream after live stream, in videos. If you go back through my videos, I have brought up the Saturn Uranus square. I've talked about this stuff. Will you be mentally okay? I actually talked about that on my podcast today. There's no reason why you can't be mentally okay. I know there's a lot of psychologists talking about the collective trauma. I think they're causing trauma by doing that. Okay. Life is never guaranteed, and it's never safe. The idea that we have an illusion around that is what's causing the impact. And it's the talk of trauma that's causing trauma, instead of saying, hey, you know what? We're in a shitty situation right now, and it's uncertain, and that's causing a lot of feelings, but there's stuff we can do. Now, I talk about that on my latest podcast. If you go to the link in my bio, and I mentioned I saw a good psychologist for once talking about, hey, right now, all those coping mechanisms we've used to get through the last 2 years are going to be not as effective. And so it's time to learn new things. It's time to turn. She's basically saying in psychological terms what I've been saying in astrological and metaphysical terms. It's time to turn your attention to new things. So it's time to learn new skills. It's okay. You learned how to do sourdough bread. Great. Now learn how to create NFTs. Learn how. You don't have to like them, just create them. Okay. You don't have to learn something new. Give yourself a chance to make mistakes. Okay. Mistakes are absolutely important in life. We have to make them. That's how we learn. Learn new software. Learn. We have the internet, for God's sake. You can learn anything. Okay. So yeah. So okay, it's heavy. Okay. There's so many people with Venus and Neptune in Capricorn. Okay, like years worth of people born. It's an outer planet. It's not a personal planet. It doesn't make up your personality. It could be that you're a late Capricorn by degree and you have Pluto hanging out there. Venus isn't causing your problems, okay? So you're having to let go of certain things in life and reorder and transform. I know that's hard. I know it, but it's important, okay? I have Pluto opposite my sun. It's square my moon, okay? Having the best years of my life, but I've lived through a lot of Pluto transits, okay? All of my life has been one giant freaking Pluto transit, one thing after the other. And it's about letting go and surfing the cosmic tides. We got to stop hanging on to what we consider normal. We have to stop hanging on to consider this is how life is. We get to create something new, and we're going to have to do it differently. Okay? Nobody's coming to make it better. And they can't. And I talked about that in my Astro Alert. I talked about it in my podcast. Literally. Unless people got rounded up at this point, there's no way. So we have to take our agency into our own hands and be safe as we can be. Because that's all you can do in life, is be as safe as you can be. Take all the protections you can. And then start using your imagination to start being very, very creative. Okay? Yeah, not alone in the struggle with Pluto. Yeah. Pluto's its whole thing. Yeah. Learning to let go is hard. It is. But you don't really have a choice. Things get pulled from you and you get dragged with it, or you learn to let go. And it is hard. I'm not going to say it isn't. I'm just saying I've lived through it and still do. I'm letting go every single day of new things. It comes to my consciousness, let it go. It's like being Elsa, guys. Let it go. Let it go. So, yeah. Oh, you like my turquoise rings? This is my favorite one because the silversmith was just this amazing guy. He and his family just make the most beautiful silver work. So, yeah, that's my favorite one. Absolutely. Absolutely. Be the prince in your own story and not the damsel in distress. Absolutely. And that goes for everybody. We can't wait for people to be at our rescue. It's not going to happen. I remember when I realized that as a kid, that no one was going to save me. I had to save me. I talk about that in this podcast too. So no one was going to rescue me. You know, now what I had to unlearn on the other side of that was being overly self-reliant. And I had such an extreme internal locus of control, which is I can do it all myself. That's a trauma response as well. And I had to learn how to let go of that. And I've been letting go of that all year. That's a beautiful thing. And I have all this amazing support coming in, all these wonderful helpers. I have my own set of elves. It's super cool. Casey and Molly and Chris and Kathy. Yeah, Moon and LLC, right? Yeah, overly self-reliant. Exactly, you're tired, so you have to bring in that support. Yeah, it is tiring. I get it. I've been that way my whole life. Even as a little kid. You know, because I couldn't rely on the adults around me to be safe or reliable. You know, so there was too much change always happening around. And so I learned it very, very young. Allowing people to be of assistance to me, allowing people to help me, allowing people to be supportive, not just physically, but emotionally. That's a big deal. My best friend and I were talking today. Oh, finally the laundry will finish. My best friend and I were talking today, and she was like, how can I support you? I know how hard you're working. And I was like, hey, just love me, because believe it or not, I actually have a lot of support. And there's just some stuff that I can't hand over yet until I get it organized. That's why I took the first week of January off of readings, and I'll be nose to the grindstone so I can pass some stuff off to other people who I can trust to do it. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. That's Pluto in a nutshell. It's me letting go of this idea that I can't find anybody who will be competent enough to help me or so I can trust. That's all changing. That's really cool. And Venus being conjunct Pluto is a really great opportunity to let go of some stories around that. So for those people who are overly self-reliant, this is a wonderful time. Wonderful. So, don't let people freak you out. Don't let people sell you the bad news. That's does not help you, So that's one of the things that really gets me when I see like the astrology TikToks that are freaking you out, even the psychologists. Like, we're in a time of collective trauma. We can't talk about being resilient. If you can't talk about being resilient in a time of trauma, I don't know when you can. Okay, because resiliency isn't about strength. It's the ability to bounce back from adverse circumstances. It's also the ability to be adaptive. We need to be adaptive yesterday to climate, to COVID, to the way society's economics are changing, or global economic system. We've got to be able to pivot, and we've got to be able to MacGyver. Now is the time to talk about resiliency. Okay, I've studied this stuff. I studied under H. Stephen Glenn, PhD. The man personally trained me. He was the founding researcher of resiliency studies. Founding researcher. He did it for the US government, and then they quashed his data. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Grit and resiliency, absolutely. I got asked, like, when did I know I had power over my own life? And it really was when I was a kid. Because if I didn't do it, nobody else was going to do it. And I noticed there were things that I could do. I knew what I couldn't handle on my own. But as soon as I could handle something, I took it on. And it was step by step by step. Very process oriented, step by step by step. And sometimes it's like climbing a mountain and your legs get tired. And if you've ever climbed up an actual mountain or even a steep hill, it sounds like a good idea when you start. And then you get like almost to the summit where it's really steep and your legs are burning and you're tired. And you're sweaty and you're thirsty and you're hungry and you're like, shit, why did I do this? And then you also realize you have to go back down. And you're like, oh my God. And it's so easy to want to give up. But you're so close. And at that point, you really can't see the destination. And it's usually at the point you want to give up that you're that close to where you want to be. You're that close. It's usually when you're the most tired and the most worn out and the most ready to just say, that's it, no shit, I quit, that you are so close to your destination. And as the Saturn Uranus square forms, a lot of people are going to be feeling like that. It's just going to be, it's a lot of pressure forming, and it's hard. It's hard. And so you want to keep your focus as much as you can into something as creative as possible. And you may not have it in you to do the art or do the writing, but let yourself dream a little. Let yourself find some whimsy somewhere. Watch some funny videos. Listen to some funny music. Watch an inappropriate movie, that just has stupid humor. Let off some steam, okay, as much as you can, and try not to get exposed to COVID because this is serious. It is serious. We are living in serious times, and it will be so easy to get into the doldrums. It will be so easy to ruminate over the past, but it's not going to help. It's just not going to help. I'm not telling you to deny your reality. I'm not telling you to deny the past. I'm just saying it's not going to help build a future. Okay? And I talk about this on the podcast, but I remember clearly when I was a young person, these therapists wanted me to be really realistic. because I was really forever going to be broken. I was really forever going to be damaged. I was damaged goods because God forbid you go through sustained childhood trauma and give a kid a life sentence. Trust me, I held them accountable as an adult, in a really, really Scorpio rising kind of way. So remember, we play with our food. But at the same time, even as a teenager, because I was a teenager at that point, and I was like, it's not magical thinking to say my life doesn't always have to be like this. It's not magical thinking to think I can rise above my circumstances. I had read Maslow. I had read Jung. I had read Adler. I went to the library. It was a thing. You wanted to learn something in the 80s, you ran to the library, you hit that frickin' card catalog, okay? I read voraciously. I read everything I could get my hands on because nobody was helping me move forward except me. It was a thing, right? Yeah, libraries still are amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely, they are. I got one built on the island I lived on. And modern libraries are a wonderful community space as well. So, yeah. Yeah. But, yeah. Yeah, libraries. Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have ever seen The Librarians, the TV show, The Librarians, the library in that show was my library as a kid, the Oregon City Library. It's a beautiful Carnegie library. Very different than how it used to be because they broke the charter and made it into an art gallery. But luckily people got it made back into a library. So, but you can learn new things, right? You can learn new things. Oh, it's cute. Thank you. It's necessary. You see, I have a -12 prescription in my contacts to help me see so I don't kill people when I drive, and so I can do basic tasks, and then these are just readers. So, but yes, I'm glad it's cute. I try to find cute glasses though, because if you have to wear glasses, and I always have, then you gotta have cute frames because really, it's a thing. So yeah. What are you sniffing at, mister? Is somebody going outside? Is there another dog out there? My dog. He's like guarding the door. So, but yeah. So the solstice has some gritty stuff. Let me pull the chart up. What is this? I'm just trying to see this. I have no idea what these things are. There's this like competition going on. Yeah, I need to do that too. Let's see. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let me get, here it is, effects. Hello. All right, let's see. I think this is it. Is this it? Yes, it is. Sorry, it's really big, but where you see the 00 there, that's the sun. So the sun, the solstice is always when the sun hits 00 degrees Capricorn. It's the solstice is when the winter solstice is when in the northern hemisphere. This will be the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. Okay. So the northern hemisphere is north of the equator. The southern hemisphere is south of the equator. And so the winter solstice for the northern hemisphere starts tomorrow. Okay. At about 8:15 a.m. Pacific. Okay. So that'll be like 12:15 p.m. Eastern. So let's see if I can find, do they have a better one? Yeah, they don't have a better one. So they don't have the one where I could make it smaller. So we've got Pluto and Venus next to each other. We have Mercury it's a little far away from the sun. They're not quite, I mean, they're in a really wide conjunction, but the moon is hanging out over here. She'll be at 27 degrees Cancer. So she will just have completed the opposition to Pluto. And I talk about this on the podcast. It's not my favorite way to start a solstice on a mundane level. There's weather. But I've been calling the weather all year long for people to be prepared as much as humanly possible. There's things we can't prepare for. Obviously, we're seeing it. But like, if people don't realize climate change is here, I don't know what to tell them. Yeah, they can do la 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 all they want. So we have to get, library cards. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Vacation souvenir, getting a library card. That's cool. Yeah, so let me see here. Let's see. Go to effects. I wonder. Let's see. Here we go. This is easier to see. So this is the other solstice chart. This is not edited. So you can see we've got the moon here. She's in opposition to Venus and Pluto. Honestly, I think you'll hear the news on waking on the West Coast if you wake, anywhere between 6 and 8 a.m. East Coast. So to me, this says it's probably going to be an event on the East Coast. If it's West Coast, it could be a little seismic activity. But yeah. This is actually an app called Celeste 1.2. It uses Astrolabe software. So I don't know if they have it for Androids. So, but yeah, this is just what I use to draw charts on my phone. So, yep. But yeah, see, TikTok, I didn't do that. TikTok did that. I didn't even touch my phone. I took a bite of my cookie. Yeah, you're welcome. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of definition. It gives you some, but it just draws charts. And it uses Placidus. So if you're into other house systems, it's a very bare bones app. I don't need anything fancy. I just want my charts. So let me see if I can pull it back up here. There we go. So again, this is what the solstice looks like. The solstice itself is when the sun ingresses into Capricorn at 0000. Okay, 0 degrees, 0 minutes. So this is what tomorrow looks like. Tomorrow at 8:15 a.m. Okay, we will probably wake up to some news. Okay, some potential the seismic activity could be a little more active all week. Okay, I'm looking a lot at the Pacific Northwest. I'm looking a lot at the desert in California. So Pacific Northwest to Northern California, offshore, on land, potential like the California, Nevada border, and into the desert. So think like Death Valley-ish type. I mean, I've been looking at it for quite a while. So yeah, I do not think the void of course moon is that big a deal. I think people make way too big of a deal out of it. Way too big of a deal. All planets can be void of course. In fact, we have a lot of planets void of course right now. Okay? It's not that big of a deal. So VOC is not that big of a deal. All it means is it is not making an applying aspect to something. Okay, it's not making an applying. It could still be an aspect and be void of course. It just means it's no longer applying. It's no more on the approach. Okay. In my experience, all it means is that starting new stuff is just Not all gonna work. Yeah. So it's just hanging out. Kind of. I mean, it's just not a time to start new things. So like, I know if I have to write a new article, if the moon is void, of course, the odds of that article getting complete is kind of low. I might wait a little bit. I might even start it. I can be rebellious, and then sometimes it gets lost. Patreon. But yeah, good evening. I always want to say good evening. Having my Christmas cookies. And I'm not going to lie, I've had a little bit of hot cocoa with some peppermint schnapps because it's the most wonderful time of the year. It is time for peppermint schnapps. So yeah. Right? Well, how else should we say good evening, right? Good evening. Who else loved the Count on Sesame Street most? Right? Ooh, I love that emoji. That's awesome. Oh, you got a peppermint shake. There you go. Oh, Malcolm, no, that's an outside bark. Inside, oh, good inside bark. Thank you. I got my idea because I was like, wait, I don't have peppermint schnapps because I had a peppermint mocha today. And so I was like, ooh, it's time. It is time. It is the Christmas time. So, you know, and I know it's hard, guys. I'm not telling you to be fake about it. It's just, when things get hard, we can make them harder on ourselves, or we can do the best we can to do the best we can. And that's what, oh, I love you too. And that's what we can do. Okay. Looking on the bright side as much as you can, counting your blessings as much as you can. And I learned that from my great grandma, to be honest. She had a very hard life. I mean, she wasn't, what's funny is she would have been considered kind of middle class. The middle class didn't really exist when she was little, but she wasn't in poverty, so to speak. As bad as poverty could be back in the turn of the 20th century. But like, she would sing to her washing machine. And at 8 years old, I thought that was kind of weird. And I got my great grandma until I was 11. She was born in 1899. And it is an attitude of gratitude. Absolutely. And so she would sing to her washing machine, and I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird. And so one day I asked her straight up, because I was that kind of kid. I would just ask you why you did stuff. And I was like, and by the way, she was Capricorn. Okay. Anybody who says Capricorns are cold and unfeeling has never gotten to know one. Because they are not. They really take care of people. They really take care of people. Do they have rules? Absolutely. Can they be a smidge controlling? Sometimes. But man, talk about deep love. I don't think I've ever been loved as deeply as I was loved by my great grandma, by anybody. And she had rules. I kind of like that. I'm a Cancerian. I like rules, not gonna lie. My brother, the Aries, was not as happy with her. But I felt always so safe with her because I really knew she actually cared about my well-being. She really, really did. And she loved children. And when she got married, she got engaged at 16 and was married at 17 and at 18, had a baby. Now, that was doing pretty good back in, 1916 when she got married. That baby died 10 months later of pneumonia. Okay. And so that would have been probably during the Spanish flu pandemic. Okay. Unfortunately, while she was giving birth, the doctor was drunk and he messed her up. She could not physically have more children. And she ended up adopting my grandmother and my great uncle later. And then she lost my grandmother in the 1950s. My grandmother died when she was 36. So my great grandma went through a lot. Like, even her mom left when she was like 9. You know, and she stayed in contact, but it was just really unusual. But the woman had to leave her kids. You couldn't leave with your kids back then. It just wasn't going to work. Yeah. So, yeah. So, oh, well, the doctor had done that to an amazing amount of women, and they found him in a not so good position, and his boots were not on. So he ended up 6 feet under. Nobody knows who did it. It was near Lincoln, Nebraska, back in the day. So he did not survive, hurting a lot of other women as well. He was taken care of by the community. A little vigilante justice. But he earned it. So, and that was her explanation. But she's like, nobody knows, nobody knows, nobody knew. They all knew probably, but nobody knew. But anyway, when I was 8, I asked her why she was singing to the washing machine, and she showed me her hands, which I had played with her knuckles most of my life. And those knuckles, you know, see, we have these wrinkles, right? She didn't. Hers were smooth, and they were smooth from a washboard, because electric washing machines really weren't much of a thing until she was well into adulthood. And that is why she sang to her washing machine. It still didn't make a ton of sense to me until I saw my first washboard and I ran my knuckles down it. Just lightly. Yeah, nobody knew nothing. Right? But I ran my knuckles just lightly down it, and it scraped them. And I thought of how much that had to have hurt and how long she'd done it to wear her knuckles smooth. And then I understood, and it was after she passed away. I think I was 12 or 13. And I understood why she sang to her washing machine and other things. She loved technology. I get my love of technology from my great-grandmother, who encouraged me to investigate all doodads and doohickeys. All doodads and doohickeys. That was her words. Investigate all doodads and doohickeys. She lived to see the fax machine, and she was enchanted by it. It was better than a telegraph. So it's important as we go through challenging times. She did find her joy. She did. And she fought for it. You know, for a woman who not only lost... No, this is not her chart. This is tomorrow's. This is tomorrow's. I have her chart, but this is tomorrow's chart. This is the solstice. So as we go through challenging times, and we will continue to see challenging times. Yeah, I have her chart. I just have to pull it. Let me see. It's back here. Let's see if I can find it. Is this it? No. Is this it? No. I had it. Is this it? No. 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 I have a lot of charts on my phone, guys. No. No. Yeah. We'll see if I can find it. Is this it? No. 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 Hang on. No. Oh, I can show you a picture of me when I was young. There you go. That's me when I was young. I know it's fuzzy. Give you that. Where is it? It's back. I have a lot of charts on my phone. I think. No. No. There it is. There it is. This is my great-grandma's chart. I know. See, I have a ton of charts on my phone. I'm always looking at charts. That's what I do. So this is my great-grandma. She was born on January 11th, 1899. That's why we are starting in the other previous century. She was born 70 years and 7 months and 10 days before me. January 11th, 1899. That's why the 10-week astrology class is starting on January 11th, because it was my great-grandma's birthday, and she is always around me. And so, let's see, where's her North Node? Yeah, so she had the North Node in Capricorn. Yeah, so, and her sun and my sun were pretty much in opposition. It was a wide opposition. Her Uranus and my Mars were conjunct widely by 4 degrees. Her Saturn was opposite my Venus. And I got away with murder. Just saying. And, yeah. She and I were pretty tight. She loved to learn. Oh my God, she loved to learn. I have her diploma that she was so proud of. She did not get to graduate high school, but she was certified to teach school, because you only had to graduate 8th grade back then to teach. And so she did not get to go to high school. High school cost money. And so her 5 brothers went, and they went to college. Some of them worked for the State Department. I mean, they all had good jobs. But she was a girl, and it was a waste of money to send a woman to school. She did work during World War II. She worked at the local paper mill to help keep it going in Oregon City. And she quit when the men came home. She and my great-grandfather left Nebraska before the Dust Bowl. They got to Oregon in 1926. They sold their farm to family and left. They could kind of see it coming. And she talked a lot about weather and watching the environment. I grew up, I think my first introduction to astrology was through the Farmer's Almanac. And my great-grandpa, who was her second husband, because her first husband died in the 60s and I never met him. He died. She married her second husband 3 months before I was born. He was 10 years younger. Cradle robber. When I asked her about her first husband, I was like, did you love him? He looks kind of grouchy in all of his pictures. And she said it was a marriage of convenience. I didn't know what that meant. I figured it out as a grown-up. But she loved my great-grandpa that I grew up with. And I knew it. I never had to ask. They just radiated joy around each other. And that also helped me know, too. Like, I was like, sometimes good things come later. You know, sometimes it doesn't always work out right away. Sometimes stuff shows up when you think it won't. And when you look at her wedding pictures from when she was 70 years old, she beamed as beautiful and bright as any 20-some-year-old or 30-some-year-old. She was just gorgeous in how she looked. She just radiated joy. And so I learned a lot from her. She never painted unrealistic pictures of life. She shared her sorrows in age-appropriate ways, and she always let me know there was always a better day. And so I was always really insulted, again, when I was dealing with therapists as a teenager, when they would say that was magical thinking. And I thought, well, that's what got my great-grandmother through most of the 20th century, through a lot of tragedy. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's hard when there's that kind of age disparity. It is. I have cousins left. My mom's the last living sibling of her siblings because she was the youngest. Yeah, you lived in North Dakota. Oh, yeah, because and again, they left before the Dust Bowl. They helped a lot of people that came from the area they lived in Nebraska come out to Oregon. So they were kind of a safe haven for people. And so when I was a little girl, there were quite a few older people that I called auntie and uncle, and I didn't know who was related. Like who was a family friend, who was related, because they were all auntie and uncle so-and-so. And so my mom knows all of that, and they all passed away, by the time I was a teenager, because they were all very much adults. And so she and Daddy Bert would help people come out, find a job, get settled. And that's kind of the era we're kind of replicating. It's where friends are having to band with friends and extended connections. And what concerns me has been the feeding of the idea of immense amounts of social anxiety and social pressure by the media that has programmed people to believe that that's something to keep feeding. And we need our social connections more than ever. And we can make good social connections online. I've always had good friends online since the internet got created. I've been online since you could be online. This idea that people in their 40s and 50s haven't been online is crazy. I saw the internet in 1988, the year it was unveiled. And I got on it as soon as I could. And I've always been online. I've never not been online. And I have wonderful friends, people I've never met in person and probably never will. But some of them helped save my life. So we need to, with this given astrology that's coming up, kind of take a leaf out of my great grandma's book, We got to help our friends. We've got to connect in community and understand what community is. Understand what that is for each one of us, right? Right, DOS command, right? Exactly. Yep. Yes. I kind of miss DOS a little bit some days. I don't miss being able to format the hard drive though. Like with a click. Like that's what people don't understand. Control C would format your whole hard drive. That's why older people are sometimes afraid of technology, because they would end up formatting their drives at work and get in trouble or fired. And so if you know people who are in their 50s and 60s and they're scared, it's because of that. Oh my God, that was cool. I have not seen that. That was neato. You got my Venus with that one. It was like, what? That was very cool. But yeah. Does talent run in the family? Meaning, like anybody's family? Or can you see it in a chart or in mine? You can see people's family talents a lot of times. Like in the 8th house, that's what you inherit, So you can inherit skills, not just money, right? So like in my reindeer, that was awesome. That was cool. In my family, what I looked at, because I have Venus and Gemini in the 8th house, and I was like, okay, what's my inheritance? Because it hasn't been money. In fact, I've been written out of several wills, not my parents, but several elder family members wrote me out of theirs. Not because I was an astrologer entirely, that played maybe a small role, but some of it was just because I would not bend to the family line. So I held to my guns, and when they used to writing me out of the will, I was just like, this is my great grandma's chart. This is from 1899. So this is from 1899. People were asking to see my great grandma's chart. So her name was Lydia Matilda Bentz Roulette Horner. So she was born Lydia Matilda Bentz. So her dad came from Prussia because Germany didn't exist yet. Her mom was Jenny Lee Satterley. and she was English. So, or Grandma Brown, her mother was English. So, yeah. But she didn't get to learn German much because her dad wouldn't let them speak German in the house, because when she was, you know, a young girl, World War I happened. But even then, he was like, we live in America. And so that's some of that having to adopt and assimilate, that's what made people lose their cultures. So, no, that's not a 12th house stellium at all. In fact, there's no actual stellium there. She's got, she doesn't have 3 personal planets conjunct. I don't use outer planets as a stellium unless there's 3 internal planets. So she's got Uranus, Venus, and Saturn in the 10th house. She was a very powerful person. She didn't necessarily have, now see, your 10th house isn't your job. It's your power in the world. It's your influence in the world. It's not your career. It can be, but your workaday life is the 6th house. And so, she actually was quite social. She belonged to a lot of clubs. She had a lot of community influence. She helped a lot of people. She was very innovative and she was very educated. She had Jupiter in the 8th. She had an extraordinarily tragic life, but managed to find her joy. She was deeply spiritual, and her sun was in the 12th house. She was a very religious woman, but not in a hellfire and damnation way. It was how she got through life because she needed it. But yeah. A stellium is 3 personal planets, sun or more. So like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, 3 of those together. You could have an outer planet with those, but yeah, your mom has Jupiter retrograde in the 8th. Yeah. So yeah. Say again. Oh, Johnson. Yeah, exactly. Well, and if they're Nordic, their name might have been like Eric's daughter, or you know, because the family names were kind of rare in Scandinavia. So like my great-grandmother's, my grandma on my dad's side's dad was from Norway, and they had a family name. And he didn't lose his, they just spelled it wrong. So it's Dahlen, and in America they spelled it with an H. There's no H in the Scandinavian, in the Norwegian. So he was the last person to immigrate. So, but yeah. Does Jupiter and Saturn count for stellium? Not really, no. Only if there's 3 personal planets. Once they can be included in it. Yeah. Well, unless my cousins change their names, you know, they could change it back. You know, but yeah, the family in Norway still spells it that way. So I got to meet some of them. That was kind of cool. So, but yeah, so yeah, there's no stellium here actually. But yeah, so back with your charger. Oh, how are the kittens, Molly? One life match. Oh, one life match. No, Chiron. Chiron wasn't actually, this chart doesn't really show. Chiron wasn't in view when she was born, but this actually software doesn't show Chiron. Because Chiron's not a major player. So this chart software doesn't use Chiron. Because Chiron is literally an incidental planet. The only reason I ever include it in anything is people get all sensational and like to have it. I kind of draw the line at Chiron. Otherwise, we'd use every freaking asteroid. You don't need all of that to be accurate. I mean, it adds flavor, but you don't need all of it. What is this? I don't know this person. No. So, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Dog's best friend. Oh, thank you. You were wonderful to read for. Asteroids add flavor. If you learn the basics, that's what I keep saying is people want to run before they can walk. That's why next year I'm going to be teaching a planet workshop a month to give a deeper understanding. So Cosmic Surfers will get that as part of their memberships. Living by Luna will get a special discount. But that learning the planets is essential. Learn the basic houses. Learn the foundations before you start trying to run, right? Because otherwise, you're muddying the water. You know, it's like if you don't learn the basics, you're going to mess stuff up, right? So, yeah, just slowly integrate it. Yeah. Yeah, birth chart class starts January 11th. I'm super excited about it because it's a 10-week class. I tried to do it in a month and I knew the month class wasn't going to be long enough. I gave extra time to my students, and then I'm asking those students to return to this process. I knew a month wasn't going to be enough. I just knew it, you know, but I wasn't promising fluency by any means, but you're changing your consciousness when you learn this subject. You know, it's just opening your mind in 6 different directions. And so it just takes time, and it takes practice, and it takes reading charts, and it takes studying. And I had I had a good mentor, but I also belonged to a really good message board that had real astrologers there learning, not just the blind following the blind. And when you go onto Facebook and you're in Facebook groups, it's mostly not real astrologers. I know. I used to go hang out and answer people's questions and get killed. Like, they'd come at me because I'd be correcting them, and I'd be like, so, hey, it isn't actually like that. And they'd be like, so-and-so said it is. And I'd be like, well, so-and-so was wrong. I don't care who they are. It was wrong, and here's why. But no. And so I just stopped. I was just like, fine, be wrong, guys. I don't care. The really dangerous groups on Facebook are the medical astrology ones. First of all, you should never be diagnosing anything. You are not a medical practitioner. Number 1. Number 2, if I see something medically, and I have studied medical astrology, but if I see something, I'm like, hey, you might go to the doctor. Okay? You might go to the doctor. So, interestingly, yeah. So, it'll be cool. Yeah. Right. Just like vets don't study nutrition, right? Yeah. Right, exactly. Exactly. The mind is limitless. Absolutely. Yeah. I do think that's rad. Absolutely. Well, and in Ayurvedic medicine, they use Vedic astrology. But that's a completely different culture and a completely different mindset. And I won't, like, I looked at it, you know, I've surveyed it, but I would always send somebody to a Vedic astrologer who could do it, because it's a cultural practice and it's a spiritual practice, and it's not an open practice. You know, I know the information has been made available, but honestly, I don't see how a Westerner raised in a Western culture could be good at it, to be honest. You know, you could get somewhat competent, but you're not going to be as fluent. You're just not. So, you're so angry you were close. Oh, no. Oh, shit. You were close. Oh, I'm glad you're vaxxed, though. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Wah, wah, wee, wah. Exactly. Oh. Big hugs, big hugs. Oh, and boosted. Well, fingers crossed. And they are showing that with the booster, at least if you do get it, you don't get as sick. So, and as far as the last numbers I've seen is Delta still seems to be the prevalent, so far, prevalent variant in the US, with Omicron's catching up, but fingers crossed. So, what do we think about Omicron? I don't think Omicron's the last variant we're going to see. And we're going to see a lot of COVID next year. You know, not only do we have Jupiter now ingressing into Pisces, Neptune and Jupiter are going to be conjunct in April. That's an expansion of disease. You know, it's just going to be. And so we're going to see more variants. Yeah. So, it passed. Oh no, Omicron passed. Because I know on the West Coast, it hasn't yet, I thought. Was 73. Oh, wow. Damn it. They just announced it today. Okay. See, I was when I write forecasts, I don't read the news. So I don't even look at the Discord because I don't want to see the news because I don't want to be influenced by it when I make my forecasts. So, oh no. And you didn't go. Yeah, good. Positive rate was 400%. Yeah. As soon as they dropped it to 50 for the first vax, you got yours. Yeah. Oh, no. Thank you for sharing. Oh, because I don't want to give the wrong information. So, yeah, it's not going to mysteriously disappear, guys. I talked about it on the podcast as well. And I talked about it in my Astro Alert in Patreon as well. I've been saying since May 1st, if you go back through all my Patreon posts, go back to May 1st, I've been saying, wear your mask, 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 get vaccinated, wear your mask. I don't think it's that big of a deal to wear a freaking mask, okay? Are they uncomfortable? Yes, so are shoes. So are bras. You know, there are jobs you could lose your job if you do not wear a brassiere, which frankly, I think should be challenged in court because they are non-essential items of clothing. However, if you have to wear shoes, and if you have to take your shoes off at the airport, which is gross, okay? It's gross, all right? A face cloth, come on. I just bought a ton of KN95s. It's like seriously part of my Christmas presents this year for people. We have got to. And you can't, people are like, well, what is the government going to do? Guess what? Not as much as you'd like them to, so wear your freaking mask. They actually are limited in what they can do. You know, the governors have more about what they can do. And if you live in a red state, those people are up for election. Have fun with that. But even in California, they can do so much, and then they work with counties on numbers. Okay. So, you know, I don't think it does tie into the Pluto return. It's the Pluto return of the revolution. It's not the Pluto return of the country. And so we've got 9 years. We've got 9 years. I think there's a lot going on. I think this is it's just showing part of it. Well, then get active in your politics. If you live in Texas, get active. You guys have got to do to them what they did to get in office. Go take the open seats. Go get on the school boards. I've been saying that for a long time. I have an article on my blog about the Pluto return. What's more concerning to me than the return of the revolution's Pluto position, because it is not the return of the United States Pluto position. We were not a country till we had a constitution. Okay? Giving a Dear John letter to the colonial power that governed us did not guarantee us autonomy. Just because you tell a spouse, well, that's it, I don't want to be married anymore, you're not divorced till the divorce is final. And astrology doesn't work on conception, it works on births. Okay? So it is an event chart for the start of something, which was the revolution. That revolution took 9 freaking years. So we're in for 9 years of a lot of political upheaval. But the Saturn return of the Constitution comes up again in April. That's significant. And I wrote a blog post talking about the Pluto return and the Saturn return as well, with the dates of the past returns. So I think it's really important before we talk about historical event to actually understand the history of the event. A lot of people just parrot the propaganda they were taught in elementary school and high school and not the actual history. Because you don't learn real history till you go to college. You learn propaganda. You're indoctrinated until then. And depending on the school you go to in college, you're indoctrinated. I remember when I was in high school, back in the previous century, I was in an AP World History class, and my teacher was exceptionally conservative and a Reaganite, and I was a little radical. And he was talking about those, the Ruskies and how they indoctrinated their children with all these terrible ideas, and he was just hammering it home, and I was just like, sir, is that what you are not doing to us? And he was like, what? No, I'm just telling you the truth. I'm like, I'm betting that's what they're telling their people too. Even as a 17-year-old, I got it, and so you gotta understand the history of it. And so I think there may be some upheaval. I just don't see it. In fact, what I see is people trying to start a civil war, and they've been trying for the last 10 years. Everybody seems to have forgot about the Tea Party and the Koch brothers. And then, last year, Charles Koch came out and said, oh, I think we made a mistake. And I was like, no, you did it on purpose. They're just trying to distance themselves. But yeah. Oh, you could give him a freaking ear, right? Exactly. Yeah. Ah, bless. Yeah. So I saw an article today going, America's closer to a civil war than it's ever been. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks for fomenting it further. I don't necessarily see it getting overly violent. I think we might see clashes. I think we might see what we've been seeing. As bad and as horrifying as January 6th was, it could have been worse. Believe it or not, it really could have been. I think it could have been a lot worse. I honestly think between COVID, the global economy, and climate change, we will not be able to go into a full-blown war because we will be dealing with clusterfuck after clusterfuck, to be honest. So I think we're having to be very autonomous as individuals and network in small groups. I've been saying this over and over and over again. That's why I'm starting the mystery school next year. That's why I'm teaching everything I know, whether it's metaphysical or physical. Everything I've learned in the last 35 years, I will teach. If it helps people communicate, collaborate, play, build businesses, worker co-ops, and a workers cooperative is a worker-owned business, okay? I want to see intuitives and creatives and people who are makers and growers and whatever come together and learn and do it from a self-actualized format, unpacking patriarchy out of the way so they can be as productive for themselves as possible, not owning their value by productivity, but rather coming from an authentic whole as possible space. Because as an actualized being, you're not ever fully actualized. You're always actualizing. It's a constant process. But if I'm living on this earth and I'm breathing, that's what I'll be teaching. Because hell, I don't know why else I survived. So I was meditating in 2020 and this thought popped into my head and it said, all you had to do was live till now. And I was like, that's all I had to do. All I had to do was live till 2020. Yep. Why didn't you tell me before? Because you wouldn't have listened. I'm like, fair enough. I wouldn't have listened, and then my guidance was correct. So yeah, your husband was a staunch Republican and then changed when you got married. It can happen. It can happen. It can happen. I don't belong to any party. I'm an independent. I've been an independent since the 90s. I was so disgusted that Bill Clinton got elected as a Republican light. He was never on the side of the working people. And I've been choked and called all kinds of names because I've said that. And I was like, he was Republican light, and he was creepy. He was really creepy. And I would get, don't criticize because the midterms, don't criticize. I'm like, if we don't criticize our party, they just run over you. So yeah, some of us were vocal. We got yelled at a lot. And, by 2012, I went off and I did other things. I kept active. I was very active. I was always active politically. I would lobby in Washington State. I would go down to the state house. I would drive 3.5 hours to be there. I took my kid, not my youngest one, because he would have been terribly bored and it just wouldn't have worked. But my oldest one, I did take. And I took her, and she would listen to me testify at hearings for House committees and Senate committees, stopped some really intrusive bills. Yeah, so you can always be involved. Don't think you can't. I didn't get paid. In fact, because I drove so far, 3.5 hours, and they could see I was with my kid, they would be like, well, we're running short on time, but this person has driven 3.5 hours to be here. We will give them their 3 minutes, because you got 3 minutes on the floor. And I will have studied that bill, because they change bills overnight. Never think they don't. They always change the bill overnight. I'd read it to see if I could still support it or if I was still against it, and I'd give up and give my testimony. And you can always be involved, and you can always make appointments to talk to representatives. You don't even have to be a constituent of that district, okay? And on the state level, they're honestly willing to hear from you a lot of times. I was able to talk to both sides on certain matters. And honestly, it didn't hurt that I brought my kid, because she was very cute, and she was like 9, and she had opinions, and I would let her give her opinions on certain matters to them. And they'd ask me what she thought of something. I'm like, ask her. And so that would help. Taught her she had a voice. You've got to be involved. Yeah, I'm an independent. Yeah. Oh, Manchin? Yeah, Manchin. He's just a fascist. Oh, you guys are queens too. Takes one to know one. Yeah, you can always be involved. Don't think you can't be involved. We need this energy brewing, because when Pluto in Aquarius comes in, shit gets real. It is not. I know you watch all these spiritual creators and they're like, it's going to be unity consciousness. The hell it is. The hell it is. It is not going to be unity consciousness. You guys need to be involved now to be ready. You need to be involved. If we want to avoid some of the yuckier consequences of the energy, we need people who are Aww, that's really pretty. My Venus in Gemini just goes, whoop, sparkles. But we need to be involved. You can't complain about rights being taken away if you're not in there asserting your rights. Everyone has the right to petition their government. A petition is not just signing a letter. A petition means you can address your representatives. It means you can make an appointment and show up. It means you don't just have to have protests. You can literally take up their time in their office. You really, really can. Now, you don't want to be disruptive, and you want to know the rules, and you want to work by the rules, but you want to use the rules against them. You want to use the rules, and you want to be respectful. You want to be above reproach. You don't want to ever give people an excuse to kick you out, okay? Because there are rules. So you want to know what the rules and what the decorum is. So like my daughter asked me, she was like, because my daughter, was about at that stage where she really wanted to be in her outside clothes and climbing trees and stuff. And I didn't make her wear a dress, but I did make her wear like business attire. Okay. And so once again, I didn't touch it, but okay. I didn't make her wear business attire. I had a little very cute jacket for her and slacks. So she was pantsuit nation before it was a thing. We're trendsetters. And I would walk her in with me. And she was like, why do I have to dress like this, Mama? I said, because it's like being in a play. Okay, these people aren't going to listen to us. So I would be dressed up with my blazer and my slacks and my good shoes. And I would put on makeup. She wasn't used to watching me. Like, I rarely wear makeup if I don't have to. And so I would put on my makeup. My hair was done instead of being tossed up in a messy bun. You know, she was used to seeing me in my sweatpants at home. And I was like, we're doing this because these people will only listen to you if you're wearing the right costume. So it's like acting, okay? I'm still me, but I'm me in a version they can hear. If I don't dress this way, they're not gonna listen to me, okay? And so that's super important, okay? Auntie Maxine reclaims her time, right? Exactly. Yeah. Has her degree in poli-sci. Now she wishes she could have majored in art. Well, I have a degree in international relations. It's a subset of political science. I minored in cultural anthropology. That degree took me around the world. You can still do art. You can still do everything. One of the reasons I did get active politically and have always stayed political is because we have to be. If we're not involved, you end up with Marjorie Green. Like, for real, if you don't think you're qualified, she's in office. Jesus. Come on. Really, it doesn't get worse. It just doesn't. Get involved, please. Because we need it going forward, okay? And yeah, I'm a political astrologer. You're right, I am. I'm not going to be unbiased in my political opinions because there's a lot of nutcases out there obscuring not only metaphysics and spirituality, but are leaning to the fascist side of things. And I'm not cool with that. That's why I came out publicly in the first place. I was taught the counter metaphysics to what the Nazis were doing. There was a lot of metaphysics in World War II. I was taught what was used against the Axis. And so, yeah, if you're not involved, if not you, then who? So I'm not saying go nuts or go crazy. I'm saying get involved, and be involved, because otherwise look at what's happened, and I took a lot of crap when I was younger for just I would lay into my friends and my family, and I'd be like once I got back in this country, because I was gone for a decade, I came back and there was so many weird changes, like economy cars disappeared. There were SUVs everywhere. When I left the States in the late 80s, SUVs were rare. And I turned around and they were everywhere, and gas guzzlers. I'm like, what happened to fuel economy? What happened to these? It disappeared in the late 90s. It was like, what the hell is this? And people just acted like I was crazy. And I'm like, no, it was different. It was heading in the right direction. What happened? It was crazy to see those changes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bernie. Yeah. I have loved Bernie for decades. And when he showed up in Seattle for that first rally, I was already on his mailing list anyway. And I grabbed my then husband and my daughter, and I'm like, we going, because we're never going to get into another one. And it was absolutely, and I had loved him for like I said, decades, but watching Jane walk around the stage in her tie-dye t-shirt, taking pictures, just like anybody, you know, I was like, okay, I love them twice as much because they're real, you know, and that somebody would have given their life in service to say the same thing over and 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 over again. It's pretty remarkable human. He wouldn't have been able to make the agenda people think he would have without support. And what I love about his message is he's been telling people they have to be involved. He couldn't do it alone, and he couldn't. We need everybody involved, and you have a right to be involved. It's your country. So, yeah. Yeah, he's so Virgo. He's not there to make friends. They're like, what do you think? I don't think about friends, you know. And so I raised a Virgo, so I said, she's like, I'm not here to be popular. I mean, it's just, yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah, I bawled like a baby at his rally. I did. It was like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It was just people from all different walks of life showing up, and it's like, but. You can't look for leaders. We are moving out of a time of chosen ones. And that's been his message, is it takes everybody, and it will take everybody. And that's what the Pluto and Aquarius era will be. And it's a long transit. It is a long, Pluto slows way down. You know, an astrologer isn't worth shit when they say Pluto sends about 10 years a sign. Pluto has an irregular orbit of 248 years. Pluto is going to take about 30 years, you know, not 30 years, like 28 years, something like that. It's in there a long time. It's in there a very long time. Yeah. But we don't know how to be collective, because we've been driven to rugged individuality on the left as much as the right. Okay? I've been involved in leftist groups or spiritual groups, and it's like, well, I don't do commitment, man. It's like heavy, man. I don't know. I remember I was in one group in Portland because I lived in Portland and I socialized in Portland, even though I lived in Washington. And we had an organization, and we would ask people to choose an activity that they could contribute for the group. You know, like we had a list of things that needed doing. And so I was passing the list around, and this guy was like, well, I don't think I can commit to putting chairs away every week, man. That's a lot. And I was like, granted, he was older than me, but still. I was like, could you commit to doing it today? As my 6-year-old was walking around going, in order for something to function, we need to donate money because there's a light bill. I'm like, my 6-year-old got it, you know, so he's a Gen Zer. But yeah, we need to, what happened, it takes a village. Well, what happened is the it takes a village came from a very privileged point of view. A lot of what was considered liberal was actually steeped in white privilege and steeped in the social work idea of teaching the lessers how to be. Like it was not an actual village mentality. We don't know. The village got dismantled post World War II. And so learning how to communicate, collaborate, and play is really the lesson Saturn in Aquarius is trying to get us to learn. That's why TikTok's kind of cool, because we have this amazing ability to kind of really connect in, because you're getting all my eye contact. So you're really getting to see me, and I get to connect with you. That's why I want to bring you to Zoom and have connection, so we can have conversation, so we can learn from my Venus and Gemini was going. I hit the stand. But so we can talk together, so we can get to know one another. And when we say, what is community? What is the village? That has to be self-described. That's why I teach self-actualization, because in order to come into community, you have to know yourself as an individual. And then you can have important conversations with another person, and you can interlock. What are your actual values? What are your actual mores? What matters to you? Do you know your capabilities? What do you bring to the table? What are you confident in contributing? What can you commit to? What is your seventh house doing? Because seventh house isn't just marriage, folks. It's how we choose to commit our time and resources to things that matter to us. One of those things is a significant other. It could be a project, okay? It could be a book. It could be a movie. It could be whatever you're pouring your time and your commitment to. And so it can be a business, a business partner. It's not just marriage, okay? The seventh house has layers of meaning. But if you don't know this stuff about yourself, you cannot be adequately in community. You're operating off of the ideals that have been imposed, okay? And if you're operating on ideals that have been imposed, this is our cultural norms, which, by the way, Pluto in Capricorn is demolishing, and Venus in Capricorn conjunct Pluto is demolishing for good, because they need to be. This is crazy shit that you should work 9 to 5. I had to leave that due to circumstances. My life, Pluto, thank you, took a spin out of control. And I had to work and build a business from home on shitty internet, because all I could get was dial-up, because I lived on an island in the middle of nowhere. 9/11 had happened just a couple years before that. My kids were getting their lives threatened. I had to homeschool them. There was a whole lot of stuff I'd rather have not had happen. Okay, I had other plans, right? So all of that was going on, and I had to start a business because Jesus, God, help me, I was going crazy at home, right? I lived the pandemic lifestyle long before it ever happened. 12 years of homeschooling. None of us liked it, okay? None of us. But the area was crazy, okay? I can tell you who they voted for. They were not Bernie Sanders supporters. It was nuts. And this is before 2016, okay? So barely had dial-up, had to get a library built on the island. So I actually had internet. Yeah, it is a crazy story. Actually got a library built so I could have internet. Got that done by 2010. It took years, okay? Had built myself, like, I wasn't just in a 20-foot hole. I had to make the ladder to climb out of it, right? It was nuts. But it also gave me the opportunity to study deeper into metaphysics. I was already an astrologer. I learned a lot of the skills. And so it's through these things that I learned, and I studied resiliency studies, communication skills, like advanced communication skills. So I see how it all dovetails together for now. At the time, I was like, what the hell? I spent a lot of time saying, what the hell? 20 years, I said, what the hell? So yeah. Right? Scorpio rising? Yeah. Indeed. It is a crazy, crazy, crazy ride. Well, and I have Pluto in the 10th conjunct my South Node too. So, I feel like that sound. That's my life. Yeah. So, yeah. Cool. Yep. Yeah, it's been a wild life, but I see why now. Like I tell you, when you guys get to my age, you'll go, oh, I get it. I'm almost done with Pluto transits. Yes. But it is, I went through severe depression as well, it's not like it was all like I was always fighting. There are times I wanted to give the hell up. It was awful. It was not fun. It was not fun. But I appreciate the admiration. It was not fun. It wasn't fun for any of us. It was hard. It was hard because it just could not get out of there. It was so limiting. And so finally, as 2016 came around it started to like loosen things up, just because Pluto started to square off my moon. And I had Jupiter conjunct it because I just had my Jupiter return, and then Jupiter was on top of my moon. Pluto was squaring Jupiter. That was fun, but that was enough pressure to get me out. So squares can be it was intensely uncomfortable, but it was exactly the kind of energy to get my butt out of there. And that's when I knew I had to leap, because I knew I had to be ready for 2020. I didn't know what was coming in 2020, but I'd been warning people for years there was massive systemic change on the way. And there is. We're living in it. And so it is time to be intensely creative and learn to communicate and listen to one another, and not just lament and count your losses. Okay? I get it's hard. But we can't luxuriate in that right now. We have to look at, how can I innovate? How can I learn better communication skills? How can I listen to other people better? How can I learn my value? How can I actually know my value? Right? Yeah. I felt really bizarre not having a job at first, because I have Pluto in the 10th house, conjunct my South Node. I didn't know what to do with that. That's my natal placement. I didn't know what to do with that. Starting a home business was obviously part of the North Node experience, but it was still really uncomfortable. Your North Node is extremely uncomfortable, and it was not easy. And it took a step-by-step approach, and I got made fun of a lot. I would hear, how's your little internet thing going? The internet is such a fad. And then when everybody started jumping onto stuff in like 2012, I'd be like, they'd be like, oh, have you heard of this? I'm like, yeah, I've been on it for a while. Oh, have you heard of this? Yeah, been there for a while. You were making fun of me, So, yeah. Right. Yeah. Things like this, things like TikTok and other parts of the internet, make it possible for people in other areas that maybe it's hard to get out of where you are for whatever reason. And don't think you're always stuck, because if you want to be out, you can. It's not easy, but you can do it. It's important to connect. And the energy we have coming up, and next year's energy, like, hell, you got to believe in something. Believe in the flying spaghetti monster. I don't care what you believe in, but use your damn imagination, because you're going to need it. We need to use our imaginative faculties to move through next year. So, yeah. Right? TikTok? Yeah, exactly. Oh, bless. I'm glad you're here, Astrolise. Oh, I'm glad you found my podcast. I love that people have found my podcast and then found me here. Like, it used to be everybody just found me on TikTok, but now people are finding me from the podcast. And that's exciting. That's really cool, because I don't edit that sucker. That's where I just go hog wild. So that's just me unfiltered. So more like what I've been like tonight. Normally on TikTok, I'm a little more filtered. But we've had good luck so far. So, yeah, that's exciting. So, yeah, as a cardinal sign, there you go. Yeah. Do I think gathering on the internet will be non-existent? I don't know what you mean by that. Gathering on the internet will be non-existent. I think the internet's going to be fine. I don't think there's any. I think there might be, due to weather, there might be some interruptions in connection, but I don't think we're going to lose the internet. The internet is really hard to kill. If you guys have ever seen the movie Serenity, it was a movie made for the fans of the show Firefly, and there's a guy in the movie called Mr. Universe, and he's like, you can't kill the signal, Mel, even though you can't kill the internet. You can regulate it, but you can bounce it. There's lots of ways to bounce the signal. So, but yeah, kill the internet. You can regulate it, but you can bounce it. There's lots of ways to bounce the signal. So, but yeah. you're not going to, that's what, it's not going to be large groups of people uniting, though. It's not going to be like the French Revolution. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be small groups of people creating for those small groups and then interlocking with other people. People don't have the communication skills to gather en masse and make a difference. That's why the national strike thing didn't work. You know, first of all, you need to know how to organize. You need to know how to communicate. It's not going to happen. There's not enough critical thinking taught. There's not enough adequate communications taught. There's not enough leadership skills taught. So, yeah. Facebook probably falls apart in 2023. The chart doesn't look good. So, it'll certainly be changed. It's going to be sued. For sure. I've looked at their chart. So yeah, I'm not on there much. I go to check on a couple of cousins who are older, you know, that's just about it. Because honestly, I don't care what other people have to say. I'll block people if they're totally heinous. Most of the people who are on that side of the they've always been on that line, you know. So, you know, I got called a communist as a little kid. In fact, that's why I read Karl Marx, because I didn't even know what a Marxist was when I got called a communist at like 8 or 9 years old. And so I went and I found the book in the library and I read it. And I was like, man, the guy has some points. Maybe I am one. I was like, it's common sense. So, yeah. Yeah, you put 80 people together in a week, right? Exactly. Well, and you had a common interest, and it has to be the right timing. It has to be a common interest. It has to be the right message. And so understanding the messaging, you know, and it was the right timing. So I've had multiple groups, large groups of people. And when you put people together, it has to be the right message, the right commonality. It has to be a loose structure, but a well-defined and described structure. There's a lot of things that go into that. But absolutely, start organizing people to organize people, because what we need are small groups of people linked together. Because big groups, they're unwieldy, and then you get factions. So just start with factions and then network with people you like. You don't have to like everybody. You know, we're not going to be friends with everybody. That's unreasonable to expect, ever. That's why unity consciousness, really the idea of it bores me. We should be different. We should have differing opinions. Those opinions should never cause harm to someone. You know, that's what people don't understand. You having an opinion that is harmful, and so someone is less human or less deserving or not deserving of autonomy, that's a problem. That's not an opinion. That's not a worthy thing. It's not valuable. It's not equal. We're not going there. But not everybody's gonna like want to communicate the same way or want to do the same things. There's going to be some people are going to be more outdoorsy, and some people are going to be more indoorsy. Some people like video games. Some people don't like video games. Okay. I love video games. I don't want to be out in nature 90% of the time. I lived in a forest. I've done my time. Nature wants to eat you. That's all I have to say. But yes. Do I think lack of leadership and communication made the Occupy? Yeah, I do. I think what I saw in the Occupy movement, unfortunately, it was the same as in like a lot of spiritual groups. It gets to be a lot of ego and whose dogma is better and what have you, and this idea that you won't prevail. Oh, that's funny. You got censored. You got censored. Oh my. Yeah, there's some around here too. Where I live in Southern California is actually rather conservative. I will just change the voting rolls. You know, they'll get some different votes here now. it was funny. I was joking because the town hall is really close, and I'm like, hey, I should see if there's any open seats. I should run for a seat. You know, when I was out with my boyfriend today, we were just taking a drive, and he goes, you should. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think they'd like my brand of politics here. And he goes, you'd have my vote. I'm like, yeah, but you don't vote here. He goes, I would move here to vote for you. I'm like, thank you. So, but that was funny. But yeah. But yeah, so let me just look at the time because I got to keep an eye on it. Run. See. I gotta change my voting registration to here first. We'll get that, and then I'll see what I'd run for. So let me get the mystery school going. That's one of the most useful things I can go for. But I want to see what open seats are available, and then I'll run for something that's open, like unopposed or something. It'll be like, who is this person? I don't know. Just vote for her. So that is the goal. And honestly, that's how the right-wing extremists took over. They did stuff like that. They would take empty seats. They would get on school boards. It was a 40-year plan. This is not new. Trump didn't make it happen. It started before him. Long before him. He just exploited it. Yeah. My nails, right? Are these not the best nails? Look at this. Oh, the weather outside is frightful. I have a snowman on my finger. I love that. She did such a cute job. School boards, because they could, one, impact curriculum, but two, running for school board is often a beginning place for running for like state representative next, or a county position. So a lot of times people will run for school board, and then they'll run for like a county commissioner position, and then they'll run for a state rep position, and then they get into the state senate, or they'll bounce from like a school board to a state senator to the national. It depends on how they're playing politics in their own party. But school board is often a jumping off space for other political positions. Yup. Right? See, your mom ran town council and never ran. Exactly. See, you could be written in. Yep, exactly. School boards, city councils, planning departments. Yep. I don't know how I cut my finger. I did though. Ouch. Maybe it was the opening. I got a new wireless keyboard. Just saying, so I can write better. Hello. Remember you? I don't know. There's a lot of people to remember, but I hope you're well. Oh, people wrote her in. That's funny. That's great. As it should be. Yep, new keyboard, new mouse. Then I can sit in a comfortable position because the TV is working great as a monitor. I don't have to strain my eyes at all to get my writing done. Oh, love you back. I don't have to strain my eyes at all with the new keyboard, so it's pretty awesome. Or not keyboard, but the TV. So, because as you know, I don't really watch TV. But then I decided, because like my boyfriend doesn't play video games. But I was like, well, do you like them? And he goes, well, I've never really played them. And I'm like, would you like to learn? And he's willing to learn. And so I showed him the cut scenes from Baldur's Gate 3 on my TV. So, yay! Gonna teach him how to play. So. Right? Juggled work, social club. Yeah, well, it's a lot. That's why as much as there's part of me that's tempted I have a mystery school to start, readings to do. I'm thinking about my doctorate. So I don't know. The doctorate's the lowest on my totem pole right now, but I might do it. But yeah. Baldur's Gate 3. Yes. It's amazing. Is that the move? Do I need to write on my TV? It kind of works really good. Building my voters. There we go. That's my voters block. Man, well, I'll just move to, like, we'll just do a national office then, right? They'll be like, where the hell is this person from? I'll be like, floated in on a magic carpet ride, dudes. But yeah. Are we all doing? I think we should all do that. Why did I buy a 55-inch TV? Because I don't watch television. It's a freaking monitor for my peepers. Today meant to be crunchy. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be crunchy too. Sorry. Moon is in Cancer. Moon is in Cancer. When I do get to doing merch, we will have crunchy day. But yeah, try it tomorrow. It's nice. You'll realize how much you're not straining your eyes looking. Cause like I have a 17-inch screen on my laptop, and it's a gaming laptop. It's a really good laptop. And I could blow things up on it, everything's magnified. So it's not like I was straining it uberly, but when I sit back on my couch and I work with it, it's just, I'm not having to strain. It feels spacious. Yeah, you could have cried all day because the moon's in Cancer. So it's kind of full of the feels. Yeah. Yeah, this week is going to be crunchy, guys, for a lot of people. You go listen to my latest podcast. I'm stern but fair. You cried today. Oh, grateful for all the good people. Yeah, that would be Cancer. Yeah. You've been having problems with the eye strain in your laptop. Telling you, the TV. Just saying. HDMI cord. Because pairing it with the Wi-Fi did not work very well, or the Bluetooth. That didn't work very well. The screen kept freezing, but pair it in with the HDMI. That works great. Yeah, Cancer raising all the feels. Absolutely. Hey, Francie. 24? Do you mean like the year 2024? We're so not even close to that right now. Oh, the 24th. It's crunchy. It's the Saturn Uranus square. It's going to be crunchy. That's all there is to it. I wouldn't go to any social gatherings. I would stay home. I would choose not to expose myself to COVID. The weather's going to be shitty. I just would not. I've been warning about it all year long. The 24th is going to suck for a lot of people. Now, it will be creative and expansive for others. But I would stay my ass home. I really would. I am going to be tooling around, but not in a traditional way and not in a stupid way. If the weather's really bad, we're going to stay home because it might rain that day. And raining in Southern California is not cool. It gets weird. So we'll just stay home and watch movies or something. But yeah. I think it's potential. I think you could have weather. You know what I mean? You could have weather. Weather comes in all shapes and sizes. It just depends. Again, I've said pay attention to the February, but also the June. So you could have fluctuations. You could have weather. I would just be careful. And it just because it doesn't if it doesn't just happen on that date doesn't mean it won't happen like in that week. Yeah. Hail, thunderstorms, tornadoes. Exactly. It doesn't have to be freezing. It's going to be weather. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people celebrate it on the 24th. Yeah. Yeah, I've been talking about this all year because of that. Because I grew up in a family where one side did one way and one side did the other way, which as a little kid was kind of cool. It was like all the parties. But yeah, 24th is going to be hard for a lot of people. Yeah. Right? I grew up with the Farmer's Almanac too. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, sometimes when I'm doing my weather forecasting for, the astrometeorology, I'll go look and see what they wrote after I wrote mine for a specific time. I always feel jazzed when we line up. I'm like, yes. So, but yeah. I've been written about 87% accurate this year, so I feel pretty confident and secure on my weather predictions and my seismic predictions. Again, Northwest, from Alaska to Northern California, basically needs to watch out for offshore earthquakes. And then interior would be like the California Nevada border into like the California desert for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, seismic activity. It'll be under 6.0 or under. It's not the big one, guys, but it will. Yeah. Well, there you go. Feeling good there. That works. Yeah, I lived in Arizona for like a year. I was ready. I came back to California. There was an earthquake that was a 6.2. Yeah. Was it offshore? Yeah. Yeah, that'll be okay. So off the coast, yeah. The bigger stuff will be offshore right now. Six is a good sized earthquake, but it's not huge. It's not untenable. I've felt those before. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. I've been really pleased with my seismic accuracy because I was weak in that as a young astrologer. Um, this year I've worked on it because I'm really concerned about the Cascadia plate because I know from a geologic level it's overdue. And so I one of my children lives up there. And so I have a vested interest in keeping my eye on that plate. And then I live in Southern California. And so, like I've told everybody, always worries when I say seismic activity, probably Alaska, probably Ring of Fire, Asia, and there'll always be somebody on the live stream. What about California? I'm like, dudes, I live here. If I think something's coming, I'll give you a heads up. So for Christmas Eve, if you're in Northern California, yeah, Bay Area, that's you. Be ready. Have a go bag. I don't think it's going to be a big one. I think you'll get your teeth rattled. There might be some window rattling. And then in the eastern, what? The Cascade Mountains? No, the Cascadia plate is in the ocean. It's the Cascadia subduction plate. So yeah, I'm talking about Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It's not the big one. It's not the big one. 2022, end of 2022, into 2023, though, we'll start to see some more intensity when it comes to the seismic activity. So I'll keep you guys up to date because, again, my daughter lives in Southern California. My son lives in Washington State. I have family in Portland, Oregon. These are all places where seismic activity happens. So, hey. So, yeah. Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus don't make a stellium, though. They don't make a stellium. It's personal planets. But you can call it that if you want to. I'm going to give up teaching the real deal someday. I'm just going to be like, yeah.